Hi everyone, TardisGuy123 here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the 7th Doctor story, Ghostlight, and this has kind of got a bit of a special quality to it because it was the last classic Doctor Who story to be recorded. However, not the last one to go out, that was Survival, but this was the last one to be recorded. It's all studio bound. So let's just dive right into the DVD case and whatnot before I share my full thoughts. As you can see here, you got BBC DVD and then BBC logo there as well, oddly enough. I don't know. You got Doctor Who right there, Ghostlight, which is the title. You got Ace there, 7th Doctor in his season 26 outfit, and also back here you have the what's it called, the Gabriel Chase, the house which this is all set in. It's sort of like a gothic horror style story, similar to what you see in Philip Hinchcliffe era, at least visually. Plot-wise, definitely not so much. Then you got the sort of like pinkish purple banner along there. On the side here, no To Entertain logo because once again it's a rather old release, and you got the spine right there. And finally on the back here, we have all the pictures of the story up there. Loads of characters and whatnot. You've got Light right in the middle there. Written by Mark Platt, who I think this is his only Doctor Who TV story. However, he has written quite a lot for Big Finish. He wrote spare parts for Big Finish, and he's writing the upcoming Planet of the Rani for Big Finish 2. And there is the blurb, and then down there you have commentary, Light in Dark Places, which is quite a long documentary. It's more just people talking about it than anything else, but for the most part it's quite a good look back on it. And then you've got deleted and extended scenes, shooting ghosts, and quite a few other things. And the deleted and extended scenes does go on for about 18 minutes, and I'll discuss that a bit further in a bit. I haven't watched all of them, but anyway, now opening this up, we have all this, what's inside here. You have the booklet and the disc, which is once again a rather plain disc because it's an early release. Now let's take a look at the booklet. Thankfully I do still have the booklet for this one. This was one of my earlier releases once again. There's the front of that, there's the back, 3-parter, and then looking in the middle basically just has all what I was on about earlier right there. So then, for the story itself, well, I've only seen it 3 times. Now, once, like, ages and ages ago when I first got the DVD, this is quite an old DVD, as you can probably tell by the fact that it's a bit beaten up, but yeah, I did get this quite a while ago. Watched it once, absolutely hated it, did not understand it. I was quite young back then. I don't know why I got it, actually, to be honest, because I was, when I was that young, I used to always go for Dalek and Cybermen releases, and for some reason I decided to go for Ghostlight. Maybe I thought it had the Cybermen in it, I don't know why I would have thought that. But yeah, I ended up going for Ghostlight, and for whatever reason, I got it, watched it, I just didn't like it. Just didn't get it. Maybe I was too young to get it, but I did not like it whatsoever. That's what I remember. And then later, when I sort of like went away from Doctor Who for a while, then came back to it as I was older, and remembered it being quite a bad one, so skipped around it for a while before finally deciding to watch it. Once again, wasn't too happy with it. I sort of like see why I thought that at the time. Maybe I found it a little bit better than before, but at the same time still didn't like it. Now for the 3rd watch. I must admit I liked it more than the first 2 times. Is it perfect? No, I'm beginning to appreciate it a little bit more though. I don't absolutely hate it anymore. Still not fond of it, but yeah, don't hate it. And, you know, actually watching the special features this time has sort of like enlightened me a bit more, and actually seeing someone describe what's happening to the story, which wasn't made clear in the story. Some things, such as the character of Jeremiah, I believe his name is. I did not realise what his role in the story was until seeing Andrew Cartmel explain that. And I think maybe I wasn't getting it, or maybe it just wasn't well explained enough, and I think it wasn't the best explained. Now, originally, the original script had to be cut down a great deal because it was far too long. In fact, it was considered to be a 4-parter, and I think that would have worked. I think that would have worked because it feels like it was too rushed here, and it just feels like there was some scenes like exposition and whatnot that needed to be explained, that needed to be described so you could find out what's going on. So that, you know, it was rather jam-packed for a 3-parter, and, you know, but at the same time, maybe then that loses its mystical quality, because when you get down to it, it's a rather standard story, but just because of the leaving out of things for the most part, it just ends up having a bit more of a mystery about it than it probably was intended to. So yeah, I think while having it with a 4-parter wouldn't kind of like make it amazing, it wouldn't turn it into a classic in my eyes, that I think it would make it more understandable and therefore more enjoyable. But having said that, we then cut down from the original script. It then goes to a just sort of like a 3-part story and recording, and then once again loads of extra stuff that was filmed had to be cut out because it overran. And that's what I was saying about the 18 minutes thing. So maybe having that extra stuff, maybe they could put that extra recorded stuff in there as well for sort of like a special edition, like they did for the Curse of Fenric, that special edition movie version. Maybe this would benefit from that, and maybe the editing would benefit as well, as the editing does feel a bit jarring in this one. It does feel a bit jumping from place to place, and you feel like you are missing out on something, which indeed you are, because a lot of material was cut out of this one before it went out. So yeah, that's how I feel it would have benefited. Now then, as I was saying, I do appreciate it a bit more, but now onto the story itself, my thoughts on this. It's wonderful for Ace, I will say. It's a good Ace story. A lot of her stories were sort of like good for her, especially during season 26, sort of like the last 3 stories. The Curse of Fenric and Survival were very much built up around her for the most part. And you know, you get to see that a lot in there, sort of like her childhood trauma and whatnot of the house, Gabriel Chase. You don't really get too much of a reason why the Doctor decided to visit there. Didn't know, but that's sort of like just the way it played out. And then Sylvester McCoy in this. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to talk about Sophie Aldra's performance first quickly. Talk about the character of Ace, but Sophie Aldra's performance is great in this as well. Sort of like shows the the anger at the Doctor for taking her back here, and also sort of like the fear. That's not usual for Ace. It's not kind of like the standard companion fear where they're just screaming at monsters coming at them, but this is sort of like a genuine fear, so you can actually get behind, because she doesn't want to go back here, and you kind of like feel like she's been betrayed and there's no one she can trust. And at the very same time, a lot of the characters are like that as well. You can't really trust a lot of them, which is interesting. And you know, the characters themselves, maybe they were supposed to be a bit more trustworthy. They're sort of like, there's an underlying theme of evolution throughout this story, especially with the characters around. And you know, it feels like it gets a bit jump cut, and you feel like you're missing out on things once again. And I think that's due to everything being cut out. So maybe if everything wasn't cut out, their stories would feel a bit more natural, a bit more progressive, and you feel like you get those gaps at the moment. But as it is, it just sort of like jumps between their characters. They sort of like go from one place to another, and you don't see the journey to that place as much, which is unfortunate to say the least. So yeah, this edition very much does suffer from it losing loads of the plot, really, of the story. It's just so much was cut out. Like, virtually a part of this was cut out. It could have easily been edited into a 4-parter, but unfortunately most of that material was cut out. Now on to Sylvester McCoy as Doctor. He does have some wonderful lines in there. He very much fits this sort of like dark haunted house themed story. And once again, I did say earlier that it felt like a Philip Hinchcliffe story, or looked like a Philip Hinchcliffe story more accurately. It didn't feel like one because the writing is very different from one for the most part, but it did still have kind of a feel of one, and you know, I feel that's very good, and his Doctor very much does fit with that. Maybe Big Finish could do another Philip Hinchcliffe Presents type thing with the 7th Doctor and Ace. Maybe that could work, sort of like set in season 26. I quite like that, just sort of like return to this style of story. And also Mark Platt actually wrote Philip Hinchcliffe Presents, he wrote this as well, so yeah, that could work out quite nicely now that I think about it. But anyway, Ghostlight itself now, I just feel the evolution thing, the kind of like the theme of change, they're very much forced upon you for the most part throughout this story. It does feel, you kind of like, you get people saying like it's a subtle message and whatnot. I'm not sure what they're on about. It does feel very obvious to me that the theme is all about evolution and change and whatnot, and accepting change. And you know, maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. I just feel like it's a bit too in your face for the most part. That whole idea of change and whatnot, and also the resolution does feel a bit of a cop out. A lot of ways, and I feel like this story very much goes downhill as it goes along. I like part 1, I really do like part 1. Part 1 is the strongest part of this story. Opens up very nicely, got loads of mystery as to what's going on. Then you move into part 2, and this is where it goes downhill quite a bit, but it still maintains a lot of the mystery. You get some hints that it's going downhill, but you think it's nothing it can't recover from. But then part 3 is when it all falls apart, but sort of like the story comes to a standstill for the most part. Light appears, and you know, the character of Light, the actor who plays him, I don't know why, it seems so comical to me. It just doesn't fit that well, especially when you got surrounded by villains such as Fenric and Morgana in the Battlefield. And say what you will about Battlefield, but I think Gene Marsh did a great job with the villain in that story for the most part. And then Fenric speaks for himself as a villain, but here Light just doesn't work that well as a villain, if he's even meant to be a villain. And you know, the story of Jeremiah, who's sort of like set up to be the main villain for the most part, but at the same time it's rather confusing because he's not having the Doctor, he's not like being antagonistic towards the Doctor for the most part. It's just very odd the way that's done, and then his plot thread is just sort of like dropped, and that's the end of it. Then you move on to the whole Light thing, you get the resolution to that, and then that's it, that's the end. And then the house is left empty, and I don't know, maybe if I watch it a couple more times I will enjoy it more, appreciate it more. But as it stands, I feel like Ghostlight, it could have done with more time. It's just a bit too much stuff into one story, and you know, for problems that are maybe beyond the Doctor Who creative team's fault because they weren't allowed to make it a 4-parter. I don't know, I feel even if it was a 4-parter, I wouldn't say it'd be an instant classic. I'd still say it'd be a good story, but not sort of like an amazing story. But here, as it is, it's gone from good to mediocre really, and I'm gonna go straight down the middle. I thought I was gonna go a bit lower than this before watching it, but now, you know what, I'm going to go a solid 5 for this one. It is a 5 out of 10. That's one of my lowest ratings so far. But, you know, I think as it stands, it is deserving of that. I'm not going to give it anything for what it could have been, because what it could have been is a totally different thing to what it actually is. So yeah, for those of you who are fans of this story, good for you. I'm glad you enjoy it. Please share why you like it in the comments below if you want to. But anyway, I think that's all I've got to say about this. I've bored you enough now, so I will say goodbye. Bye everyone.